It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. It's been quite a weekend, hasn't it? First, the National Guard was getting called in. Now the Marines are getting called in because of these wild, I don't even know if I can use the term, protests in Los Angeles, specifically downtown LA, but we saw some wilding in Paramount, and we have seen a whole lot of violence out there. Fireworks directed at police officers. We have seen rocks thrown at cop cars, boulders thrown at cop cars over and over again. For some reason, people keep wanting to set Waymos on fire. I don't know what that's about, and I don't understand what the political message is. But there has been a lot of insanity out in Los Angeles this weekend, and this is your opportunity. If you want to weigh in on everything you've been seeing, you want to weigh in on the protests for the ICE raids in Los Angeles, you want to talk about how much of an instigator Karen Bass or Gavin Newsom has been. Maybe you think the other way around. Maybe you think Trump's the instigator here. Give us a call right now, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Tell me your thoughts on the insanity that we've experienced these last 3 days. 800-222-KABC. We were just here on Friday afternoon when LA City Councilwoman Isabel Jurado and Eunice Hernandez were at that press conference by Churla, the immigrant advocate organization, and they sure were riling up a crowd. And what did we see? Not peaceful protests, but absolute insanity out there. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Now, this morning, Attorney General Rob Bonta said that California is suing the Trump administration because they don't have the right to call the National Guard. This whole nonsense about, oh, does it really make sense? No, we can handle it, even though the police chief in Los Angeles said, guess what? We were overwhelmed. We were getting attacked, so we need all the help we can get. But for some reason, Gavin doesn't want to do that. Karen Bass doesn't want to do that. They want to say there's no violence to see here. Let's see what Rob Bonta has to say when he's asked about the unrest.
It does seem that some of this unrest is still going on. Are you saying now that sort of given this action that whatever's happening now is kind of on the president for fomenting things and exacerbating things by issuing this deployment?
Let me answer the second question first. Over the weekend, throughout the evening on Saturday and into the late hours of Saturday evening, LAPD had made it clear that everything was calm in the city of LA.
No, it wasn't.
I believe there were 20 peaceful protesters at the time I got the latest information on Saturday. And then LA County had an ongoing issue in Paramount. Issues flare up all the time.
Wasn't that issue including where Matt Seedorf's news van for Fox 11 got destroyed?
The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is the largest sheriff's department in the nation. By the way, the LA Police Department is the third largest in the nation. These are some of the biggest law enforcement agencies in the nation. They're fully resourced. They have highly trained law enforcement officers ready and trained and prepared for any situation.
And they were overwhelmed. The federal agents were overwhelmed. Everyone was overwhelmed because of these organized riots.
And so a example of civil unrest, protests that includes violence, is something that they're very prepared to handle. And the LA sheriff, through his own resources, without reaching out to any other agency, through mutual aid, was able to handle the issue in Paramount. Another issue.
Handle's an interesting term because we had cop cars destroyed, we had things set on fire, and we had people shooting fireworks at police officers' faces.
Another issue flared up in Compton that night. CHP was already called to assist, and together CHP and LA sheriffs handled that issue, and things were quiet. By the time the first National Guards people arrived in LA, they were quiet. Since then, they have not been quiet. So I'll let you conclude whether the National Guardsmen that were called unnecessarily, unlawfully by the Trump administration contributed to, caused stoked the flames, inflamed, increased tensions, provoked. I think what I just laid out makes it clear.
Yeah, that's one way to point that narrative, but I don't know if people are buying it when you can literally see the videos of the wilding that was going on. You want to react, you want to vent about the riots that we experienced this weekend in Southern California. Give me a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. This is your chance to call in and tell me what you are feeling about everything you've been seeing over the last couple of days. Let's go to Ray in Glendale. Ray, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Doing
Good to hear
great.
your voice. So, I think all of the police officers need to adopt the motto, you loot, we shoot. No one has the right to step out onto a road and block people from reaching where they're going. The roads are for travel. And the police need to arrest early and often, right away. Have to stamp this thing down immediately and haul these people in. Of course, that's not going to happen because the Democrats control everything. So civilization will burn while the Democrats dance.
As soon as you let them take over a freeway, everything is lost and everyone knows that it's out of control and it's the purge and anyone can do whatever they want. We cannot allow, even if you call it a protest doesn't mean you get to block the roads, and it definitely doesn't mean you get to run on the freeway.
Yes, indeed. Circle them, lock them up, throw away the key.
Thanks so much for the call, Ray. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Johnny at the Port of LA. Johnny, hello.
Hi. I just want to say, when I'm driving home on a break or going back and forth, people are driving 100 miles per hour. And I call the highway patrol. They do nothing. So how can you handle rioters when you let just everyday citizens just put us all in danger? That doesn't make any sense. This is political suicide for Gavin Newsom. He will never be president. Neither will, what's her name, Karen Bass. She'll never have another term. And I'm glad. You know, I'm not glad for the circumstances of happening like that, but they're phony. They're just actors. You know, and she sits there bobbing her head like she really got things going on. She went on a trip to Africa when we have to have nozzles in our showers to keep certain amount of water from flowing on our bodies and crap. Excuse me, I almost said the wrong word. But anyway.
You almost did.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah, I almost did. But then the waters, why was he holding the waters up there? We wouldn't have had those fires. You know the water situation. I'm not a politician, but it's just ridiculous.
I think you're totally right, Johnny. And these people, it's so much performative politics and saber rattling. And while they're saying that the other side is inciting the riots, you could argue so are they. That's what they are doing. That's what Karen Bass is doing. Every single time that she's asked about the violence, she talks about it and says it's unacceptable and then completely downplays it and tries to justify it. And that kind of energy shows the unlawful crowd out there that, hey, we can do whatever we want because we're not seeing the mass arrests. I mean, the police are overwhelmed. They are outnumbered. The LA police chief himself, Jim McDonald, said that, which is complete opposite of what Karen Bass is saying, complete opposite of what Gavin Newsom is saying, because he is responsible for his people. Let's go to Morris in North Hollywood. Morris, hello.
Yes, what's interesting, I just got my green card about 4 years ago. For 6 years, I had no papers, and it was hell to get my green card. They even canceled my health insurance on me because I was turned to be illegally here, and this is after 57 years. At any rate, the problem with the immigration is out of control. This has been going on over 55 years. Nothing was ever done about it. It's like if you have a disease and you don't cure it, it gets worse. So now you have all these immigrants coming in, and they just find the cheapest apartment out there, settle down, make a few babies, and that's home. And now that our great president, Donald Trump, is trying to do something about it, everybody's protesting. They don't realize that it kills jobs, Manufacturing goes out of the country, and life is not life anymore. As I mentioned to you, I struggled. I just got my green card. And for a long time, I couldn't leave the USA because I would never make it back in. My sister came in when she flew in from England. She was held up at the airport because she lost her passport and she lost her green card, and they put her in federal detention right at LAX, the Tom Bradley building. And she was in there for 8 hours. So this business that they come and protest and Donald Trump should just sit back there and not do nothing, that's what he's there for. He was elected for just that. All right.
Well, and even no matter who's been in charge of the White House, thanks for the call, Morris, no matter who's been in charge of the White House, there have always been operations by ICE. They've happened under Trump. They've happened under Biden. They've happened under Trump. They've happened under Obama. And Karen Bass saying that, well, if ICE wouldn't do these raids, you wouldn't see these riots, is not exactly what the mayor of Los Angeles needs to say right there. They have every right to carry out the operations that they do. You could honestly make an argument that the reason they have to do things like this and the reason they're not coordinating with the city of LA and LAPD is because of LA's sanctuary city status, California's sanctuary state status, which isn't protecting anybody. And maybe that's why you're seeing such outrage out there, because so many people thought they were protected by this nonsensical thing. I don't know, but what I'm seeing out there is unacceptable. Hopefully it calms down, but I'm seeing roads getting taken over right now, and it's starting to get dark. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. This is your opportunity to weigh in on this year's version of the LA riots. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's listen. Let's go to Stuart in New Jersey. Stuart, hello.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Doing great.
I grew up in Venice, California. I'm 74 years old. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I was in the Marine Corps in 1968 when 123 U.S. cities burned simultaneously during the Civil Rights era. I have sort of a unique perspective on how the Marine Corps was tasked with riot control. It wasn't riot control we were training for. It was riot suppression. And we didn't want to do it. We were not sent into the streets. A constitutional crisis was averted. The next experience I had with riots was 92, when I went to Governor Jerry Brown's We the People campaign as a volunteer. In May of that year, the Rodney King riots broke out, and we went into the streets. That is to say, I was Jerry Brown's lead advance person in the van, and off we went. The things that I saw are forever etched in my memory, not the least of which was La Cienega and Venice Boulevard, when the post office was smoldering and the black man was in the street directing traffic by himself, because the Los Angeles Police Department could not or would not come and do riot control or whatever it is however you want to phrase it. The other memory I have was when the day came that the good folk took shovels, brooms, and trash bags and started cleaning up the mess and reclaiming their streets. What's happening right now, you've made your point very clear, and the other gentlemen as well have, and others are everywhere. What's happening right now is not one of those. It was no incident that kicked something off. It was this cascade of events, these social events, that have turned into where the people are faced with a military occupation. And that's how I look at it. Excuse me if if I have a point of view different, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak here. I look at this problem that we're dealing with as one huge, giant mistake. I don't want my Marine Corps, after all these years, in the streets. I don't want them facing off the people, and I don't want the people facing off the Marine Corps, nor the National Guard, nor the LAPD, the sheriffs, or one another, whether they're documented or undocumented. This is a bad deal. this is, people say this will not turn out well, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to be terrible because, first of all, the authorities and the federal troops are vastly outnumbered in an armed community. And, people can thump their chest, people can make their statements and what have you. This is an explosive social situation that I pray does not happen. This does not occur.
I think we're all thinking the same thing. We don't want this to escalate any further. I really appreciate you calling in, Stuart, and giving us your experience, your unique experience with that. No one wants to see this escalate any further, but when you've got people who are shooting fireworks, M80s at police officers' faces, we have got to be able to arrest them. The reason we can't arrest them is there's not enough of them out there, that we need every kind of backup we can get. And we need the politicians that we have locally to not stand in the way of that and just say, no, everything's fine. It's a mostly peaceful protest. That's not what's going on out there, at least with everything that I have seen. But thank you so much for the call, Stuart. Appreciate you. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. It's your opportunity to weigh in on this weekend's riots. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Heidi in LA. Heidi, hello.
Hi, Randy. I wanted to say I feel for the previous caller. What I did want to say is that these are riots. These are people that are mobilizing together, and to hear the Mexican president this weekend saying that shame on what our country is doing, why don't these protesters go to their governments in Mexico, in Guatemala? I'm from Guatemala originally, and protest what this kind of frustration you have for your country. For the president of Mexico to say this instead of seeing what she can do to keep her people in her country and make things happen and better for their country. Why don't they hate the country so much? Go and protest to your government in your own country. But it won't happen because this is the only country where this kind of craziness is allowed.
And we have seen time and time again, especially in Los Angeles, we allow these things to get completely out of control and to let lawlessness take over.
Yes, and it only happens in these places. You don't hear these kind of things in Mexico or Guatemala. I'm originally from Guatemala. It does not happen. We respect, even though they may be, there is other problems there. There's still a stance of respect for your government, whether you agree with it or not.
I think you make a really good point. Thanks so much for the call. Look, you can completely disagree with what's going on with the deportations, with the raids, with whatever Bill Asalee is carrying out. That's your right. But they have the legal authority to do it, and you do not get your point across by attacking police officers. I don't care if they're National Guard. I don't care if they're Marines. I don't care if they're LAPD, LA County Sheriff. You do not destroy property. You do not attack officers. If you do that, it doesn't matter what the guise is under. You got to go. And if our local electeds are not calling that out forcefully enough and shutting it down, they got to go. Your reaction to this weekend's riots. It's your turn to voice your opinion. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Give us a call right now. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls on this weekend's riots. Your reaction to them, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you want to sound off on what you've been seeing this weekend, all the videos, all the violence, give us a call, 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Monica in Irvine. Monica, hello.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for taking my call. So I've been watching the riots more than I should have all weekend. It's just compelling. And I'm just appalled. Like, Kamala Harris put out an ignorant statement of feeling appalled about ICE. But I'm appalled at the California officials or unofficials such as Kamala and Newsom and Karen Bass. They're not condemning the violence. They're allowing it. I mean, we've been around the block before with Karen Bass allowing people to go on the freeways to protest in support of Hamas terrorism. I mean, enough is enough. I've seen so many comments on social media about Donald Trump not calling the National Guard on January 6th and him getting heat for that. now he's, getting threatened by Newsom for calling the National Guard, for preserving safety. It's like the president is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. It's just, and then I heard Janice Hahn last night on KCAL 9 sounding so airy about immigrants who were an immigrant community, but yet conveniently leaving out illegal immigration and crimes, violent crimes that these people are have allegedly committed. It just blows my mind how ignorant these elected officials are. That upsets me. It's even more upsetting because they are the root of the problem.
Oh, if they weren't the ones out there making excuses for the violence and actually calling it out, then the agitators out there would know that this is unacceptable. But for instance, like the organization Shirla, the immigrant advocate organization that had that press conference on Friday that started all this, several members of the LA City Council were there and they spoke, and they're the ones screaming and saying it's time to fight. And they definitely incited this nonsense. Thanks so much for the call, Monica. Appreciate it. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get right back to your calls next. Your reaction to this weekend's riots in Los Angeles. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Get on the line right now. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow on social media at Randy Wang Radio. I'm just seeing this post from Alex Michelson on Twitter. We just saw people arrive in downtown LA with truckloads of bionic face shields that demonstrators quickly grabbed. It certainly seems like the kind of gear you'd wear if you're preparing for a conflict with police. What is going on here? Is this more of the nonprofits that are funded by Los Angeles for immigrant defense that are actually going towards funding the rioters? Who knows? All right, you're all on hold. You want to weigh in on the riots. It's time. It's time for you to blast away. Let's start with James in Azusa. James, hello.
Yeah, Randy, to Stewart, if he remembers correctly, if he actually took an oath, you fight all enemies, foreign and domestic. Well, let me remind you. And to the previous caller about the president of Mexico, her day is coming. The commie's day. She's the biggest commie, and her day, I'm sure Trump's got a plan for her. And as far as my point, and I know they were overwhelmed, not enough arrests this weekend. And they got to bring back the old days of crowd controls with the fire hydrant and the fire hose. Thanks, Randy.
Thanks so much for the call, James. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Your reaction to this weekend's riots that are, looks like, continuing right now. Let's go to Anthony in La Puente. Anthony, hello.
Hey, Randy. Two quick things. I don't understand how these rioters get away with what they're doing with law enforcement right in front of them. I mean, I can't even get away with a parking ticket. The second thing I wanted to say was the state is broke. Los Angeles is broke. How do they recover from this? It was just a month, maybe less than a month ago that Ulysses was telling the LAPD to work with what you got, keep the helicopter on the ground. I just don't I think they shot themselves in the foot by not asking for help.
I mean, yeah, who's going to pay for all this destruction? Who's responsible when the rioters torch all the Waymos? What did Waymo do to you?
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the call, Anthony. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Danny in Paramount. Danny, hello.
Hey, Randy. How you doing today?
Doing great.
Thanks for taking my call. Awesome. I got to experience this live. Pretty much, we own a business right down the street from there, and I actually went to Paramount Home Depot yesterday. I spoke to one of the managers who's helped me in the garden department, and he's on the phone with ATF all day. Just wanted to tell you something is I hope one day we have similar immigration laws as Mexico does. These people, these cowards will totally see the end of all this stuff. In Mexico's immigration, because I lived down there for a while, you outstay your visa, you're going to jail, man. You're not going to buy any property there at all. You have 99-year leases if you're not a citizen. That's all I wanted to say. Have a great day, guys.
Well, thanks so much for the call, Danny. Appreciate it. Of course, Paramount was the epicenter on Saturday of a whole lot of violence, including a news van that was destroyed. I just saw a video of another news van, KTLA, getting tagged while they're doing a report. This is complete lawlessness. And the fact that every other word out of Karen Bass's mouth is justifying this violence is completely unacceptable. She was already disqualified from her job because of the reaction to the fires, her reaction to homelessness, but her reaction to this has been awful. And as much as they want to talk about that the other side's fanning the flames, they are fanning the flames themselves. I mean, do we really need to pull up all the sound of Eunice saying it's time to throw down? Let's go to Jeb in Huntington Beach. Jeb, hello.
Hey, how are you, Randy? Hey, honestly, if they were to turn around and lock them all up, okay, and hold them 48 hours after the riot's over, then it would be like going back to school. They would lock them up, everything would be good. Because right now, the way they're doing it, just watching them light everything on fire and being under gun, they needed to start hammering it out, treating it like old school, where you hit them with a baton. And that's what it takes, because it's not getting any better, and it's costing the taxpayers more and more every day now. And they were already out of money. So this is crazy.
Yeah, think about how many police cruisers have been destroyed in this, whether it's LAPD, the Sheriff's Department, or CHP, from people literally throwing boulders off of a bridge onto police cars. We're allowing that?
Yeah, and we're justifying it. Well, our mayor and governor are, which is crazy within itself, and everybody's having a good day. If it were in front of their house, they wouldn't appreciate it at all. They'd be locked down.
You make a really strong point. Thanks so much for the call. And I think a lot of what at least I've heard is part of the reason you don't see so many arrests is that the police, especially LAPD, they're outnumbered. That's why you don't see mass arrests at street takeovers. It's why you don't see mass arrests at things like this, because it will create an unsafe situation where they're completely outnumbered. So this is where you kind of want to call for backup. And Gavin Newsom going on television saying, I totally understand with the National Guard. We had to call them in during the BLM riots of 2020. It's like, are you waiting for it to get that bad before you request assistance? There's just so much saber rattling over nothing. The thing is to knock this thing down before it gets out of control. And it's been out of control 3 days in a row now. Ooh, Karen Bass and Jim McDonald press conference. We'll go to that in a minute. But first, let's go to Jeff in Costa Mesa. Jeff, hello.
Randy, how's it going?
Doing great.
Okay, great. We're at a tipping point. California's been declining for years. I work with all immigrants. All the citizens are being minimized. The great replacement is real. You can tell emergency rooms are full, long wait times, job sites, landscaping, restaurants, all non-citizens. Employers are taking advantage of all this, and they're socializing all the costs to the taxpayers. California is now the surf capital of the world. It's spelled SERF. I want out. California is going to be elites on the coast and immigrant laborers. There's no more middle class. If you haven't bought a home and got in there, you're not going to be getting one. As far as the protests, don't believe your lying eyes. It was totally peaceful. Rule of law is over, and we are seeing the tip of the iceberg now.
I feel you, Jeb. And you know what? Thanks so much for the call. I will admit it. Watching some of those videos, it was hard to take your eyes off of it this weekend. I did start Zillow scrolling. I got to get out of here. All right. More of your phone calls coming up. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Looks like Karen Bass is also having a press conference with Jim McDonald. We'll dip into that as well. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. On KABC, well, we knew it was going to happen again. According to LAPD Central Division, protesters in the crowd began throwing objects at the officers at Temple in Los Angeles. The use of less lethal munitions has been authorized. Let's go to Jim McDonald, who just started a press conference minutes ago.
As of this afternoon, the Los Angeles Police Department is on tactical alert and in a state of partial mobilization. These designations are critical tools that allow us to expand our operational capacity to safeguard our communities and respond effectively to any unrest or unlawful activity. Let me explain for the public what all these means in practical terms. When we declare a tactical alert, we're activating a department-wide operational posture that enables us to reallocate officers rapidly, hold over shifts as...
It's such a weird view because Karen Bass is standing next to the chief, but she's not talking, and she's just kind of staring off blankly.
...needed and prioritize major incidents. Officers assigned to the field remain in their areas unless they're reassigned. Activities are narrowed to police work of significance or major importance, and officers who are able to return to the field in their areas of assignment. We also notify all relevant command staff, including my office, the Office of Operations, Emergency Operations Division, in order to ensure seamless communication and coordination. In response to current events, we've also implemented partial mobilization of the department, which means we've extended watch hours, deferred days off for some personnel, and alerted off-duty officers to be ready for deployment.
Of course. So now the already overstretched, overworked LAPD has got to work even harder because we can't call for backup. Well, it's not looking great out there, as once again, people are committing acts of violence against police officers, and somehow this gets your message across. If you're on hold, stay on hold to go right back to the calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to your phone calls, your reaction to this weekend's riots that are continuing through tonight. Let's go to Laura in Riverside. Laura, hello.
Hi, Randy. Thanks for taking my call. I'd ask how you're doing, but you'll just answer great. So glad you're having a great night. I just wanted to let you know that while I was watching the news tonight, I started seeing more and more agitators with their backpacks coming out and their umbrellas, and now they're turning to reporters and asking them if they're with Fox News, and they're looking for a fight with reporters. So this kind of violence is escalating, and it's a result of specific council members that are just signaling to do this kind of thing, and they should be ashamed of themselves and arrested, in my opinion.
When you look at those rallies, those initial rallies on Friday with Hugo Soto Martinez, Isabel Urado, Ulysses Hernandez, Nithya Raman, the rest of the Democrat Socialists of America Los Angeles wing of the LA City Council, they were the ones that were fanning the flames of this. They were the ones that were making this seem way bigger than it needed to be, and they were the ones that were giving the green light that if you show you're outraged by it, we're not going to do a damn thing to you. And that's what we've seen over the last 4 days.
Oh, I totally agree. You have your peaceful protesters who want to have their voices heard. I respect them for that. But then you have those that are coming in with their masks, and then you could see on TV that they got their new shields, like Alex Michelson said, and they have them on, and now the backpacks are coming on, and, you know, the disguises are coming on, and they're situating themselves for a fight with LAPD, which is, and it's kind of ironic because the fight isn't with LAPD or the local law enforcement agencies. The fight is with another area of government, and they seem to be taking out this violence on innocent officers, which that's just disturbing.
Well, that's the ideology of the people like Ulysses. They are police abolitionists. So it doesn't matter that LAPD is just there to keep the peace. They want to not only attack the police officers, but they want to goat them into fighting back so then they can get videos of LAPD looking bad, and then we can go back to, hey, let's defund the police. This is all by design.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, she needs to find a new hobby. I would suggest exercise for number one, but other hobbies are maybe helpful to her.
You said it. I didn't. Thanks so much for the call, Laura. Appreciate it. Let's go to Ralph in Glendora. Ralph, hello.
Hi, I have a couple questions. Who are the protesters and Democratic leaders supporting? I read that ICE detained only two groups. One, the criminal illegal immigrants with a warrant out, and two, illegal aliens with a deportation order already from a judge. Isn't this the same as support for that Maryland father, quote unquote?
Well, that's the thing. I don't even think they know or care who they're supporting. It's not about who they're supporting. It's who they're against. And they're against all levels of law enforcement. And this was the perfect excuse to cause complete mayhem once again in the city of Los Angeles. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, it all makes sense if you think of Los Angeles as Fort Sumter being attacked in 1861 by the Confederate Army, mostly Democrat, in fact, all Democrats, to start the Civil War under their president, Jefferson Davis. So instead of Jefferson Davis, who sounds a lot like Gavin Newsom when they describe Davis as a guy who made an arrogant aristocrat who made highfalutin but illogical speeches that fell flat, then that's what we have here. And Newsom and Bass in particular, because they're named as responsible in Article 6 of the Constitution, they are violating their oath to the Constitution to support federal law. That's obstruction and insurrection. They should be under house arrest.
I think a case could be made for that. Heck, even the president was making that case this week. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it, Bill. Hopefully this isn't what we have to talk about tomorrow, but these things tend to go on for a while. And it looks like as the tactical alert is getting in place for today, and there's already acts of violence, things being thrown against police officers, whether they're local or national, doesn't matter. Things are going to get out of control again tonight. And I don't see anyone locally elected who wants to actually speak out about this in a real way without justifying it a million ways in one. We'll continue to cover it right here. Thank you all so much for your calls. Thank you all so much for your emails. If you ever miss an episode of the show, go to KABC.com/newsblitz. This is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.